R&B fam, I'm Bianca Renee, and today I actually took a shower, put on makeup, and did my hair during quarantine with a newborn. I know everyone told me that it couldn't be done, but I did it. I did it. So today not only do you get to see me actually put together, you also are going to get a bunch of tips about breastfeeding. Now, I am no doctor. I'm not a lactation specialist. I'm just a new mom of a whopping 3 months. I know, loads of experience, but you learn a lot in a short amount of time. This video is not going to be really how to breastfeed. I think that should be left to the professionals, but these are just a bunch of things that I didn't really know about going into breastfeeding and things that I wish I did. So let's start from the top. I would say that one of the greatest things that I think that I did during my pregnancy in regards to breastfeeding was not to over glorify breastfeeding, because I know that some people have a hard time breastfeeding or aren't able to do it. So as much as I knew I wanted to be able to breastfeed, I also had to make it very clear to myself that, hey, if you can, great. But if you can't, that's okay too. Whether you're bottle feeding or using formula, you got to do whatever is best for your baby. So you really have to put your own ego aside and put your baby's needs first. And I knew that if for whatever reason I wasn't able to produce as much milk as the baby needed, I wasn't going to just keep trying so I could be the best mom that breastfeeds all the time. Meanwhile, I'm starving my child. So I already knew that I was just going to be like, hey, this isn't about you. This is about the baby. And it's because you can't breastfeed at all or as much as you want to or had planned to, that does not make you a bad mom. So first of all, as soon as they take out the baby, you don't breastfeed right away. You kind of let the baby get used to this new environment of air and people and sound other than whooshing blood and your internal sounds. So you kind of let the baby just take a minute to just realize that he or she is no longer inside of you. So once you get settled into your new room, you're holding your baby, having some nice skin-to-skin time, then after maybe like an hour or so is when you will breastfeed for the first time. And that's when your lactation specialist at the hospital will come in and help you through this. They know if you're a new mom, you've never done this before. This is something you can't just like practice on your downtime. So when it is time to breastfeed from the hospital, they will help you get into a nice comfortable position, and the positionings are very crucial. There's 3 main types of holds to breastfeed. There is the football hold, where you literally have the baby's head here and you're holding it like a like you're about to hike the ball football, and your baby is just kind of eating where the body is back here, and you have a pillow resting here. Then there's the normal cradle one, which you see mostly like in movies and TV, where it's just a nice, relaxing time. Or you could literally lay down like so and then put the baby here, and the baby is just also laying down having a nice little snack. Now I will say this became my favorite type of hold for those middle of the night feeds, when it's like 2 a.m. 4 a.m. and you just don't even have the energy to sit up. It's really nice to just lay here even with your eyes closed and just have the baby laying next to you. That way you don't have to hold anything, and it's just a very comfortable night feeding situation. Now usually for me, I'm usually doing the cradle hold, but obviously you're going to do whatever position is most comfortable for you. But I will note that it's always good to have a pillow to help support your arm. Now I actually got a breastfeeding pillow. This one is by Boppy. But to be completely honest, I never really used this. I used this like once, because realistically, your baby is going to want to eat whatever he or she wants to eat, and you might not be in a position where you're next to this pillow. So you got to just whip out the boob and start milking, because the baby is very impatient. So you might just need to grab whatever pillow is next to you, and that's usually what realistically happens more often. Could I keep this in a more convenient location? Definitely. Do I? No. But what you should do regardless, if you are sitting on a couch, is just get one of the small little couch pillows and fold it so that your arm can then rest on something. There is a huge difference between holding the baby without and holding the baby with. I don't know what it is, but this muscle just gets to relax because this is so tense. So make sure wherever you're sitting, just shove a pillow under your elbow, and it just makes life so much easier, especially if you have a big old baby like I do. So now let's talk about the actual breastfeeding process. First of all, which might be a surprise to you guys, is your nipples don't just have one little spout. It's not just one hole where all the milk comes out of each side. Your nipple's actually made of a bunch of little holes, so you actually get more of a this motion when the milk comes out. Interesting, right? Now, it might be kind of embarrassing to admit, but I didn't know that, like, until I was pregnant. Apparently, I haven't stared at my nipples long enough. But even though the milk is coming out of the actual nipple part, you want to put your entire breast, well, not your entire breast, but a good chunk of it into the baby's mouth, which is called a proper latch. People ask if breastfeeding hurts, and the most common response is no, breastfeeding shouldn't hurt if you get a good latch. Man, if only I had a little boob stuffed animal like they did in the lactation class. So you want to not get just the little nipple part, but the entire areola should be within the baby's mouth. If you see a little bit more, you even could like pinch it and just scoop more into the baby's mouth, and it'll be way more comfortable for you. That first week of breastfeeding, you might notice that your milk doesn't even look like milk. It's actually clear, and that's because it's not milk, it's colostrum. So colostrum is the first set of nutrients that the baby really needs, that's full and rich in nutrients. And then after maybe like 72 hours, that's when your actual milk will start to come in. And the funny thing is, you actually feel it. Like, you could feel your boobs refilling. It doesn't hurt. It more is like a, where you make this weird face like that. And it kind of tickles, and it doesn't hurt. Unless you are engorged and you run out of room, and then you might be like, okay, this baby needs to feed now because mommy's going to explode. So what do you do if you're engorged and your boobs feel like they're going to explode? This is where it gets tricky, because this is when you could pump, and you could pump out some of that milk if your baby isn't hungry or needing that milk right at that moment. So I personally was a little nervous to start pumping, because I was told you should wait till at least 6 weeks before you start pumping, because in that first 6 weeks, that's when your body is trying to figure out how much milk your baby needs. So I didn't want my body to think like, hey, you used all that milk, guess you need some more, let me fill you up. And it's like, no, we're trying to fix the engorgement. So it's kind of like this seesaw of, once you empty out the boob, it kind of then tells your brain, oh, you're empty, let me refill you. And the more you breastfeed, the more milk you're gonna produce. So I think I was trying to wait till the 6 week mark. I maybe made it to like, maybe 4 weeks, maybe 5. But I needed to actually leave the house and go somewhere for a couple hours. So I needed to leave some breast milk for my mother-in-law to be able to feed the baby. So that's when I started pumping. And it was nice to like actually remove some of that milk and help my engorgedness. So then after that moment, I just started to pump whenever I really felt like I was going to explode. And everything's worked out fine. My body still figured out how much milk I needed to produce. And now I just have a really nice freezer stash of all of my milk that I pumped. So some of the common breastfeeding questions that I had were, how often do I feed my baby? And the most common answer is every 2 to 3 hours. But many doctors also say to not worry about the whole time thing and just really look for your baby's cues. Now you might see your baby do something like this. I mean, that's what my baby does. He just goes ham on his hand, and that says, hey mom, I'm starving, feed me again. And my baby would want to eat all the time. Like, it was barely 2 hours. So in the beginning, your baby could cluster feed, which means they just want to eat all the time, which is fine. Let your baby eat as much as he or she wants, and to really just plump that baby up so he or she is nice and healthy. But if you have a very sleepy baby that might be sleeping for over like 3 hours, that's when it's kind of recommended to maybe wake up the baby so he or she is getting enough nutrients every at least 3 hours. Another question that I had was, how long do I breastfeed on one side? Am I supposed to switch sides? Do they do both sides during one feeding? And for me, my baby was able to get enough milk from one breast at a time. So he'd breastfeed on the right side, and then the next time it was time to eat, he'd then go to the left side. And I noticed that once I started pumping that my breasts were getting so full that I was producing like 5 ounces of milk just off of one side. So that was totally enough. Where if you're not producing as much milk, you might need to go from right to left within one feeding because your baby's still hungry. So just do whatever your baby wants to do. When do you know your baby's done? You'll know. The baby will just let go, or he or she will just start crying or getting fussy, and that's usually when I pause. I burp the baby so he can get any air out, and then I switch to the other side and see if he wants more. If he does, he will latch on. But if you are breastfeeding, you can't really see the milk go into the baby, nor can you measure it. So you might be thinking, how do I know if my baby's getting enough milk? And the way for you to know if your baby is getting enough food is by checking how many poopy diapers you have. Now every baby is different, but you can expect at least 4 poopy diapers a day. I think we got up to like maybe 8. It really depends on how often you're feeding and how much the baby is eating. It could be that he or she might poop every time you nurse, or it might be like every other time. But try to keep track in the beginning, because when you go to your pediatrician, they're going to ask you, how many times does the baby poop? How many times does the baby pee? And you're going to be like, what is time? Now, as much as you think you're going to remember the last time you fed the baby, you don't. Time is just all over the place. So it really helped for us to use an app to keep track of every time I nursed. Now, first we were using an app called Baby Tracker. This allowed you to start nursing on the left side, and then when you were done, you would hit the timer again, and it would keep a nice little log of how often and what side you were breastfeeding from. But then there'd be times where I would start and I didn't have my phone next to me, so it became like an issue. But then even that, we would still forget, and we really wanted to be hands-free. So then my husband found an app that works with your Alexa. Then she will then say, nursing started on the right, and then when you're done, you say, stop nursing, and then she'll say, nursing complete 15 minutes on the left, or whatever it may be. So it really helped to be hands-free, and then all the information that you feed to your Alexa would then be put into the app. We were pretty good with using the apps until maybe 2 months, and then we were just over it. So now what I do to figure out which side I should breastfeed on, I just feel them. I go, this one's pretty firm, we're gonna go with the right side. And whatever side is more firm, that's where we start. I'll make sure to link both of these apps in the description box below. Now when it comes to pumping, that's gonna have to be a whole separate video, because there's so many rules on how long the breast milk can be at room temperature, how long you can keep it in the fridge, how long you can keep it in the freezer. You have to measure it in these little bags. There's different types of pumps. There's wireless. There's a lot. So that's gonna have to be another video. Let me know if you guys wanna know about what pumps I have. But there are a couple products that I want to show you that could help you with your breastfeeding. Now these products I'm going to show you, I did already mention in my postpartum video, but if you guys haven't seen it, well, you should. But you will need some nipple cream. I learned the hard way that in the beginning, every single time you breastfeed, you should put on some nipple cream. So the baby's going to eat, apply. Eat, apply. Repeat, repeat, repeat. I missed one time and my nips became all chapped and hard and they hurt. But then once I kept applying, they then healed themselves. I'm now 3 months out and I no longer really apply these nipple creams. I do every blue moon, but it's not like a necessary thing anymore. So I do have the lanolin cream, which is probably the most common one we see people use that's maybe advertised. It's a very nice like Vaseline consistency. This is in my Amazon store if you guys want to get some, but I also got the Earth Mama organic nipple butter. So if you're more of the organic Whole Foods type of person, you might like this one instead, but it's a more watery, runny consistency. It's kind of greasy, honestly. So out of the two, I personally prefer the lanolin, but feel free to try both and use whatever you like. You also are going to need some nursing pads. These are little pads that you stick within your bra so that you don't leak all over the place. Now I got these nursing pads thinking that I was gonna have a couple little drops here or there, but no. These super soakers are like machine guns and will just shoot everything in sight. So my baby is just getting it all in the face, and it could be a very traumatic experience if you aren't ready for that. So just know that in the videos, breastfeeding is like drip, 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 but you could be like me where it's just full on squirt guns. I will admit, I've shot myself in the face before. It can happen. These nursing pads are by the same brand of the nipple cream. I have a box of 100 and I bought 200 of them at first, and I went through 200 pads in 1 month because these babies would be thick with my leaking milk. If you don't want to have a million of these pads, you could buy ones that are washable, and that way you could just keep reusing them. But realistically, if you're not good with your laundry like I am, you need these at all times. Another lifesaver were these little gel pads. Oh, this is actually the same brand as the nipple cream and the nursing pads. I guess this Lancino brand is just the Nipple Masters. But you put this in the freezer. Then you put this inside of this little cloth that it comes with, like so. And then you attach these little snaps, makes a little circle, and you stick this in your bra, and it's the most cooling sensation ever. And the most obvious breastfeeding purchase is going to be nursing bras. I also got these off of Amazon. Let me demonstrate it for you. Now, it is no Victoria's Secret. It's more like her cousin that tells all your business. But it looks like this. Sexy, right? And then when you want to nurse, you just push on this little snap, and then it flaps down to then expose your breast, and you can start breastfeeding. Then when the baby's done, you're gonna snap it back up. Easy peasy. So I bought at least 3 of these at first, but I used them so much and then I leaked so much that I needed to wash them every single day. So I ended up buying like 8 of them. And then some of you guys wrote me on Instagram, which is at RNBFam, and recommended that I get a nursing tank top. So that way, if you are nursing in public or around other people, when you lift up your shirt, you then don't expose your wrinkly stretch mark tummy, but you have just a shirt here, and then it also snaps down the same way. A little bit more full coverage. So I would highly recommend getting both nursing tank tops and nursing bras. There is like a little bit more sexier version. Where is that one? Probably in the laundry, like I said. That looks more like a normal bra, but you're gonna use these comfortable ones all the time. Both of these are also in my Amazon store. Another common question is, how do I increase my milk supply? And there are teas and cookies that are claiming to help create more breast milk, but the answer that is most proven true is just drinking a lot of water. You've got to be hydrated to refill yourself, to refill your boobs, to then fill your baby. So try to drink as much water as possible. Once you start breastfeeding, you're stuck. So make sure that you've got a pillow, make sure you have your cell phone because you are going to be bored, make sure you have the remote maybe to your TV, a water, and snacks. That is what you need to have a successful breastfeeding session. It's also important to keep up with your eating. You might think, oh, the baby's out, now I want to start dieting, I'm going to cut down on my meals because I was eating like a pig during my pregnancy. No, technically you can still keep pigging out because now your body is burning 500 more calories a day from breastfeeding. So nice little like freebie perk that we get from going through all the breastfeedingness is that it's going to help shrink our stomach back to our original size, because as you're breastfeeding, it then contracts your stomach, getting you back to your snatch self. So I think those are all the basic breastfeeding tips that you need to know starting off. If you have any more questions, definitely reach out to a lactation specialist. They should be a part of your hospital. They should have a phone number that you can even call. When I was pregnant, I was able to take a breastfeeding class. They had these free classes that were very helpful for my husband and I to go to, and I learned a lot in that class. So call your hospital and see if they offer any classes for you to take as well. I definitely recommend you doing that. And even after you have the baby, they also have breastfeeding classes where you can come with other moms that might be struggling to get a good latch or just with breastfeeding in general. So those classes could also help you make life a little bit easier. So although breastfeeding might seem like a lot, I personally really enjoy that one-on-one bonding time with my little baby. I just like to just look at him and realize how cute he really is. And even though it gets exhausting that he wants to eat every 2 to 3 hours, once I have him in my arms, I'm always happy. But if that's not you, hey, pump it into a bottle and make dad do it. Leave a comment down below, let me know if this video was helpful, or also leave any tips or tricks you may have to make breastfeeding a little bit easier for these new moms. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. We post new videos every week, so hit that little bell so you're notified as soon as we post a new video. You also can follow us on Instagram at RNBFam. We'll see you guys next time. Happy feeding.